I think most people really are in victim mentality, and of course, they don't know it. Well, Noah, I want to make more money. I want to lose the weight. I want to find love. I want to be in a happy marriage, but I can't do it because blank,
Mm,
blank, blank, right? Whatever you just said, you're a victim.
hmm
Whatever you just said, you're a victim. So if you're saying, I don't know how to do it, now that's different. Well, no, I want to make more money. I want to lose the weight. I want to find love, but I don't know where to start. Okay, now that's different. Now that's an opening. You see how we just opened the door there? And so the point is, get help. There's help out there. There's help available now that I, of course, never had when I was a kid. When I was growing up, there was no help. At least I didn't know where to get it. And so the point
No.
is, now if you want help, it's there.
Welcome to another episode of Negotiate Your Best Life. I'm so excited today because we are going to be taking out the trash. We are taking out the worst kind of trash, the smelliest, the most awful, and that's your head trash. Because we've got the worldwide father of Afformations right here in the house. He's also the author of the book, The Seven Figure Expert. He's the creator of the 12-Week Breakthrough. He's worked with celebrities, athletes, CEOs, you name it. And we got him right here. So welcome, Dr. Noah.
Thank you. Great to be here, Rebecca.
I'm so glad to have you. And
Thank you.
we have already navigated some stuff over here, some, tech stuff. And this isn't even our generation. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that about you. I'm going to say it about me. We're not Gen Z. This is not our, native language. But we did it. So now I want to know, how did you take out your own head trash? I'm guessing you've had to, do some culling over there. So tell us about where you started.
Absolutely. All right. So here we go. I'm going to give you my origin story, the short version, the Reader's Digest version. And that is I grew up poor in a rich neighborhood. And I know that's a total cliche, but it's totally true. I grew up in Kennebunkport, Maine, which happens to be one of the wealthiest communities in New England, in fact, in the United States. But my family was dirt poor. I mean that literally because we lived at the bottom of a dirt road in a drafty, unfinished house that my parents ended up losing to foreclosure when I was just
Oh
15
no.
years old.
Oh no.
So, yeah. And so the point is, I grew up seeing the chasm between the haves and the have nots. The haves was everyone else in the community, and the have nots was my family. And so I hated being poor. You hear a lot of motivational speakers, they'll get on stage and they'll say things like, well, we were poor, but we were happy. We didn't know we were poor. Well, in my family, we freaking knew we were poor because my mother reminded us every day that we were poor and miserable. So no one wasn't happy. It sucked. And so I hated that life of poverty, fear, lack, not enoughness. That's what I grew up with. But I saw that right down the street, there's great wealth and abundance. So from the time I was a little kid, I kept saying, how the heck do I get from here to there? And of course, there was no one to help me back then. There was no internet or any of the things we have today. So I did the only thing I could think of, which is I went to the library and I read every book in the self-help section. I just immersed myself. I read every book in the self-help section, all the classics, Dale Carnegie, Napoleon Hill, Stephen Covey, all the classics. And I just immersed myself in that literature. And I really, really worked hard. But as hard as I tried, as hard as I worked, I just couldn't seem to get it to work. So at the age of 25, I was living in Los Angeles. I had no money. I was broke. I just lost my job. My girlfriend left me. I couldn't pay my rent. It was like a country song, but
I was gonna say.
right? But it was true. I mean, it was really happening. And so I was 25 years old and I said, you know what? I decided I don't want to be here anymore. So I decided to take my own life at age 25. I decided to commit suicide. Now, at the very
No.
last moment, my life was spared, but I didn't know why. And so I realized I've got to find what am I doing on this planet? What is my purpose here on the earth? And I didn't know how to answer that question. So I realized I got to go back to the library. And so I did. I went back to the library and this time I read every book in the spiritual section. And I just immersed myself in the spiritual literature of how do I find my purpose on the earth? And so
Mm-hmm.
fast forward 5 years later to 1997, where I was a religious studies major in college and I had these epiphanies and I realized exactly what was missing in all those books that I'd spent all those years and an insane amount of hours reading. And I realized what was missing that no one was talking about. And I realized, aha, this is my mission. This is my purpose. And so I actually wrote my very first book, which was called Permission to Succeed, which you can actually see right back there. And that was published by the Chicken Soup for the Soul publisher. And now I've written 25 books in 18 languages. In fact, I'm the only author in history that's had works published by Hay House, HarperCollins, Simon & Schuster, Mind Valley, Nightingale Conant, and the Chicken Soup for the Soul publisher. No one else in history has ever done that. I'm the only person that's ever done that. And now also, we've helped our clients add over $3 billion collectively with a B, meaning we've helped people add multiple six figures, seven figures, even eight figures after they'd already tried everything else, after they were stuck, after they'd gone to every seminar out there, and they still weren't hitting their goals. They kept hitting that income ceiling, as I like to call it. And so I've been able to help thousands of people all around the world to break through their income ceiling, make more money. But even more importantly than that, Rebecca, is helping people to get their lives back. So that is what is so exciting about the work I get to do. And that's basically my story and how it all started.
Wow. 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 That is so much. I mean, I like the whole time you were talking, I have like, oh, I have a question about that. I have a question about that. It's like,
Fire
wow.
away. I'm an open book. Go ahead. Fire away. What do you got? I'm happy to
Oh
answer
my
anything.
goodness. I mean, oh my goodness. So, first of all, when you were, so I grew up in DC, McLean, Virginia area, and when I was growing, kind of bullied for being Asian. I was experience any kind of not so much bullying, but like where you were just not invited to the party or not, excluded
Right.
when you were a kid growing up.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, the kids in my high school and my grammar school and my high school were pretty cool about it. I mean, my family was actually very active in the community. So my dad's a really popular guy, just everybody loves him. And so I never really experienced any bully. I mean, a little bit, but not really any. And so it was really more of I realized from a very young age that money it gives you choices. That's what money really is. I mean, a lot of people have, of course, a lot of emotional head trash, as I like to call it, around money. Hence, one of my books is called "Get Rid of Your Head Trash About Money."
Hmm.
That's a huge, huge emotional thing for millions of people all around the world.
Hmm.
And so for me, not having money, I just saw the difference. It was really just like, boy, this really sucks. To not have money, there's nothing good about it. There's nothing good about poverty. And so I realized like that's what money does. It gives you options. In fact, I remember one time my dad was driving us to school, my brother and me, and I said to him, Dad, so do you get paid by the hour or are you on a salary? Now, at this time, he was working at the Weyerhaeuser Corporations. So he had a good job by this time. We'd already lost the house, but he was able to get a good job after that. And I said, so when you go to work, do you pay by the hour or is it? He goes, no, I have a salary. That means, I get paid the same amount no matter how I work. So then I asked him a question. I said, so then why do you work all the time? you know, because if you get paid the same whether you work this much or that much, why work that much? That didn't make any sense to, 14-year-old me. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. So even back then, I was always, I guess, equating time and money, which of course Ben Franklin has famously said, time is money, right? So I realized even back then that these are two very valuable resources that it would really be smart to learn how to leverage them. And really, that's been what my whole career has been about, writing all these books and helping a lot of people to do that very thing.
Hmm. So I have a question about, I mean, you're so vulnerable, and I just want to, acknowledge you for that about this moment that you came to where you wanted to end your own life.
Mhm.
I mean, what led to that? And then what was the experience? When you were telling me this, I was thinking about Eckhart Tolle talks about that. Did you ever read, and he talks about how
Mhm.
he literally saw himself, and he realized if I'm seeing myself, then that's not the real me. There's a me, and then there's the other part. And so I'm curious to know what, because that seems to be really a huge turning point in your life. So tell me more about that.
Yeah. Well, ironically, when I was there in Los Angeles, I was trying to become a movie star. I really, that was my whole goal was to be a movie star.
Mhm.
And Hollywood
Well,
was
because they have
underwhelmed by my
money, right?
performance.
They have money.
Right, right, exactly. Well, Hollywood was underwhelmed by my performance, shall we say. So I was going on all these auditions and I never got the job. I mean, I just didn't. And, back then it was all, white bread and, clean cut or whatever. And I had this ethnic look, which would work great now. But, back then it was like, no, we're not interested. You got curly hair, get out of here, whatever. So anyway, I couldn't get work doing that. So I had to, eat. I had to survive, and I was, barely surviving. So I was working as a secretary to in these big, movie studios you would know the names of. And so what I realized when I was 25, and I was actually looking at the next 40 years of my life, being a secretary and, just punching the clock and hating every second of it. And I said, if this is the next 40 years of my life, I really don't want to be here. This 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 is not what I signed up for. This isn't what I pictured for my life, because before that I was actually a professional ballet dancer, ballet, not belly dancer, ballet dancer. So I actually am the only keynote speaker in the industry who used to make a living picking up ballerinas. Nobody else can claim that. So I
That's
had a
amazing.
career-ending injury at age 22. So see, all of those things kind of came together, and that's when I realized, I don't want to be here anymore. And so I that's when I made the decision to end my life. And as I mentioned, thankfully at the very, very last moment, my life was spared. And I feel that God came down and said, "Hey, we don't want you to do this right now." And I was like,
So,
"Okay,
so
all
what
right,
what
fine."
happened that it was spared? What can you share?
Well, I went because this was before the internet. This was in 1992, so there was no internet back then, or at least maybe Al Gore. But anyway, so I remember reading somewhere or hearing somewhere that if you drove your car into the garage and closed the door, you would asphyxiate yourself and die. And I was like, okay, well, that actually sounds pretty good because basically you just go to sleep and don't wake up. So I'm like, oh, that's pretty good because I didn't have a gun or anything like that, and so I didn't do that. So there was only one problem where I was living in this little apartment in North Hollywood. I didn't have a garage. We had these open auto bays. So I'm like, well, I can't that's not going to work. It's just open air. So so I realized, well, I got to find a garage. And so I literally went to my car and I just said, I'm going to drive around, the neighborhood and see if I find an open garage that I can pull my car into. And believe it or not, I actually found an open garage, just a garage sitting there with the door open. And I was like, okay, I'm
This
gonna
at
pull
someone's
in and
house? This was at someone's house?
yeah, yeah, it was just
And you didn't know
some
them?
road somewhere. I just literally drove around.
You didn't
And
know these
and in
people?
this time, and when I share this story, people are a little surprised by this, but I wasn't even angry or upset. I was actually very calm, very centered. It was like, I'm gonna do this. It was like it was a decision that I had already made to do it. So I was about to pull in. And right at that moment, I saw something which was the thing that actually saved my life. And in the corner of the garage, I saw a child's bicycle. And I knew it was a kid's bike because it had those white handlebars, with the things we used to have, the frilly things on them. I mean, I used to have a bike like that when I was a kid.
Mhm.
So as I saw that bicycle in the corner of the garage, I had a flash of an image or, a picture just flashed in my head that said, and I saw this family, maybe a young husband and wife, maybe they have a kid or two and a young child, and they come home and they find my dead body in their garage. And I
Mhm.
realized in that moment, I said, Noah, you can't do that. You can't do that to someone. Now, these are total strangers. Of course, I'll never know who they were. I didn't meet them and I'll never meet them. I will never know who they are. But just that image, that scene that I saw of, the wife was so distraught and the kid was crying and upset. I said, Noah, you can't do this. And so I said, forget it. Okay, fine, I get it. And so that's when I pulled away and I said, okay, I guess I'm not supposed to do that. So that's what led me to what I shared earlier, going to the library and really saying, okay, I guess I'm not supposed to take my own life. So what do you want me to do now? And then really that's what led to my work that I do to this day.
Have you ever met somebody, they started off to be the most charming, charismatic person you've ever met in your life. Then they turned out to be your worst nightmare. And then when you go to negotiate with them, they're a living hell. Well, I developed something called the SLAY method of negotiating with narcissists, and it has helped tens of thousands of people in more than 150 countries win, go from feeling drained and defeated to getting the outcomes they want. And the reason why it works is because I spent more than 20 years studying narcissism as a trial attorney, and now I'm here to help you win too, and also take your suffering and turn it into your superpower. Take your pain and turn it into profit, peace, and purpose as a highly specialized high conflict negotiation coach. If you want to learn how to do it, then just go to RebeccaZung.com/apply and I will show you how. Wow, that's an amazing
Mhm.
story. I mean, just so powerful. It's very intense, very
Yeah.
intense. Um, so, and you were 25, you said, at
Yeah, I
that
was
point?
25. So it was, I'm 57 now. And so it was 30, what's that, 32 years ago. Yeah,
Wow.
1992.
Okay. And so, eh, how did you then start th this process of affirmation? So tell us what that is, first of all, and then how
Yeah.
you got there.
Absolutely. So for the folks listening and watching the program, I want to make sure that you know we're saying a new word here. This is my book from Hay House called the Book of Afformations. So it's Afformations. And by the way, you can go to afformations.com and learn more about my Afformations method. Again, Afformations. Afformations. Okay.
Yes.
So remember I told you earlier that I read every book in the self-help universe, right? And every book says the same thing, right? They all say, well, if you want to change your life, you got to change your beliefs. If you want to change your beliefs, you got to use affirmations, right? A statement, right? So everybody in the world knows what an affirmation is a statement of something we want to be true, right? So like, I'm a coach, an executive coach, a business coach, but I'm also a keynote speaker. So as a keynote speaker, I get to speak to, groups, teams, organizations all around the country, all around the world, whether live or virtually. And one of the things I like to do with my audience members as a keynote speaker is I like to say, okay, everybody, now we're going to play a little game here, and I want you to say an affirmation just like we were taught. And everybody say this affirmation, I am rich, right? And everybody goes, I am rich. You know what happens next? Everyone starts laughing. And I go, what are you laughing at? And they go, well, I'm not rich. And I say, but you just said you were. And they go, yeah, but I don't believe it. See, isn't that the problem with the old method, right? The old way says you say these statements and we want to believe them, but in 90% of the cases, we just don't believe it, right? We just don't believe it. So what the gurus said, the old guys say, is, well, you just repeat it 1,000,000,000,000,000 cajillion times until you believe it someday. Now, for some people, that worked, but for most of us, it didn't work at all. In fact, a scientific study was done on this very topic, and they found that 75% of people that use the old affirmations method actually end up more frustrated than before. So imagine if you had a
It
smartphone that
makes
didn't
them
work
feel
three out of
less
the four
than.
times you went to use it. You'd probably get a new phone, wouldn't you? Right? Well, that's what I invented, a new phone for your brain. So one day in April 1997, I was actually in the shower and I was thinking about this very thing. And I'm like, how come I've been doing exactly what they said, what every book says, and it never works? Right? Because I had these, post-it notes all over my wall. I'm happy, I'm rich, I'm successful. And the reality was, no, I'm not. I'm broke, unhappy, and miserable. Right? So and so I kept saying, what aren't they telling us? What is
Yeah.
missing here? And so I was in the
Yeah.
shower, April 1997. In my book, I call it The Shower That Changed Everything. Right? We've all had those shower moments, right? You're in the shower or the bath, and you're like that eureka moment, right? I mean, this goes back to the ancient Greeks. So I said, wait a second. All right. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about human beliefs, because if you want to change your life, you got to change your beliefs. So I knew that part was right. So I said, but what is a belief? A belief is just a thought. And then what is thought? I said, well, what is thought? And then I realized that human thought is actually the process of asking and searching for answers to questions, not statements, but questions. For example,
Mm,
if I ask you, why is the sky blue? Why is the sky blue? Do you know what just happened in your brain? Your brain started to search for the answer. Even if
hmm
you don't know the answer, your brain's automatically searching. So I said,
hmm
wait a second. If the human mind is automatically searching for answers to questions, why are we going around making statements we don't believe? Why don't we just
hmm
cut out the middleman? And I said, well,
hmm
what would that look like? Well, let's see. You got the statement or affirmation, I am rich, to which your brain goes, yeah, right. So then I said, well, if that's the statement, then what would the question be? And then I said, Why am I so rich? Why am I so rich? Now, when you ask that question, what immediately starts to happen in your brain? You start to search for the answer, right?
Mm,
So, what I'm teaching in my books and my courses and my coaching is the law of sowing and reaping. As you sow, so shall you reap. This is an
mhm,
ancient law. It's been taught for centuries. And yet, what are we sowing? We're sowing seeds of thought. But do you know what most people are doing? Sowing lousy thought seeds. Why am I
mm.
so stupid? Why am I so fat? Why can't I lose weight? Why isn't my business growing? Why can't I get more clients? Why is there always more month left at the end of the money?
Mm.
Right?
It's a good.
And when you ask lousy questions, what do you get?
Mm,
You get lousy answers, right? And that creates a lousy life. So I said, wait a second. What if instead of asking lousy questions that lead to lousy answers and create a lousy life, what if we just flip the whole thing around? Start asking empowering questions that lead to phenomenal answers and create a wonderful life. And as I was standing there in the shower, April 1997, I said, holy cow, I think I just invented something. And so I had to give it a name. And the name that I gave it was, as I mentioned again, it's Afformations, Afformations, Afformations.com. And that literally was the beginning of my whole teaching. And now we have over 2 million Afformers. That's what we call ourselves, people who have been clued into my Afformations method. And the beauty of it is, once you learn my Afformations method, you can never go back to the old way. It's like I just said, if you had a better phone, why would you go back to a phone that only works 1 out of 4 times that you want to use it? No, you get a phone that works every time, and that's what Afformations represent.
so, can you take us through the method?
Mhm. Sure, absolutely. So the first thing, what we're talking about is human goals, right? Everybody listening to this program has goals, right? We humans are goal-oriented organisms. We're always thinking about planning, what do we want? Whether it's a new car, a new career, a new job, a ham sandwich for lunch. We're always thinking about what is it that I want, right? So that's
Yeah.
exactly right. I mean, that's perfectly right. So everybody out there talks about goals. Every guru, goals, goals, goals. We've heard it a million times. But here's the thing that they don't talk about. What happens after you set a goal? So what happens for most people is they set a goal. Let's take a common one. I want to make another $10,000 a month, in my business or my career. I want to, add an additional $10,000 a month, right? That's a nice goal because, if you're adding 10K a month, you're adding six figures a year. That's a nice figure, right? That's helpful. It's really nice, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
anyway, let's just say that's your goal. But what happens for most people is they go, I probably can't do it. See, that's the very next thought that happens in their brain after they set a goal. So this is what people don't talk about. They talk about the goal, set your goals, set your goals. I've heard it a million times. Okay, what about after that? Right? So most people are saying, oh, I can't do it. Oh, really? So you are already talking yourself out of that thing that you just said you wanted. So
Mhm.
with my Afformations method, what you would do is yes, you still set your goals, same process, but now you're asking yourself, you're affirming. Why is it so easy for me to add an additional $10,000 a month? Wow. Do you see? You just flipped your brain. You literally just flipped your brain with that one question. And your brain goes,
Mhm.
"What? What did you just say? What are you talking about?" Right? You're going to literally freak your brain out. But then the most important thing is you got to take action, right? This isn't magic. There's a lot of people out there that believe in the law of attraction. And in movies like The Secret, they told us what we want to hear, which is if you think about money, money just falls in from the sky. Really? What planet is that on? I'll move there tomorrow, right? Because I mean,
Yeah.
on planet Earth, we have to do this annoying thing called take action if we want something, if we want a result. Even if it is a ham sandwich for lunch, you got to make the ham sandwich or buy one. I mean, whatever. So the
Mhm.
point is, if you want more money, you got to do something. You got to take action. So let me give you a quick example. And by the way, if you go to my website, if you go to noahstjohn.com, you'll see hundreds of case studies of people whose lives that I've changed through my affirmations and power habits methods. But anyway, so gosh, there's so many. I'll give you one quick one. I was speaking at a seminar in Los Angeles for 1,000 entrepreneurs. These are 7 and 8 figure CEOs, business professionals, executives, entrepreneurs, some pretty high level people, right? So I was speaking about affirmations and head trash, everything we've already talked about. And I spoke for about 30 minutes, was walking off the stage. A man came up to me and he said, Noah, I want to hire you as my coach. You are the coach I've been looking for. Now, I didn't know this man from Adam. Ironically, his name was Adam. True story. You can go to my website, you see for yourself. Anyway, my point is, I said, okay, well, what's going on? He goes, well, Noah, I own this company and we have gotten to 4 million in sales, but we've been stuck there for the past 4 years. He said, we keep hitting this income ceiling like you were just talking about. And he said, I've thrown so much money at the problem. I've hired every marketing guru under the sun, spent all this money, and we can't break through this income ceiling. He said, as soon as I heard you speak about Afformations and head trash and foot on the brake and everything you just said, he said, I knew that you were the coach I've been looking for. So he decided to hire me on the spot. That's why I love working with high achievers, right? Because they make decisions quickly and friendly. They don't dilly dally, they don't mess around. They're just like, let's go. So
Yeah.
he did that. So anyway, he decided to hire me, and I coached him and his executive team for 18 months. In that 18-month period, Rebecca, we were able to get his company that had been stuck, plateaued for the past 4 years to over 20 million in
Wow.
less than 18 months. That's a 600% increase in less than 2 years. And that's what we like to call hockey stick growth, right? You know, like you're going along like this and then whoop, you get a hockey stick. So you can watch Adam's video and many, many others on my website, but that's
So
the
how
point
did
of
you
that
get him
story.
how
What's
did you
that?
get him unstuck? How do you get a person
Well,
unstuck?
that's the point. So one of the things that I love to teach is and as you can tell already, I'm like the nerdiest nerd in the industry, right? I'm like the Sheldon Cooper of self-help. And so as a card carrying nerd, one of my favorite things is Venn diagrams. I love Venn diagrams, right? Because they tell a
I
story.
like a good Venn diagram.
Love those. So my favorite Venn diagram of all time is just two circles, very simple. Inner game and outer game. All right. So if you imagine two circles, inner game and outer game. So inner game is everything that happens between your ears that you can't see directly, but it affects everything that you do. So as another
Mhm.
example, as a keynote speaker, I like to say to my audience members, what's one area of your life where your beliefs don't affect you? And people go, uh, Mm. And I go, exactly. There's no place your beliefs don't affect you, right? Your beliefs are affecting everything: your health, your wealth, your career, your finances, your business, your personal life, your social life, your friends, family, everything, right? But here's the funny thing: you can't see a belief. You can only see the effects of a belief, right? So
Mhm.
that's why you could be doing really well in one area, but maybe you're stuck or struggling in another. Maybe for example, your health is really good, but maybe your career isn't going the way you want, or vice versa. Maybe you're working hard all the time, burning the midnight oil, so your health and your relationships are suffering. You see what I mean? So it's not cookie cutter, one size fits all. Our coaching is very personalized and customized for each individual person, right? Whether it's one-on-one or group. So that's your inner game. But then we also have your outer game. Now, your outer game is everything you can see directly, right? That's the system strategies, the marketing, the sales, all the stuff that all the gurus talk about, right? So going
Mhm.
back to Adam's example, that's what he had spent tons of money on. And see, just focusing on his outer game got him to 4 million a year. Hey, nothing wrong with that. A lot of people be like, oh man, that's really great. But he was stuck. And he's like, that's not good enough, right? I know I can do better. Right.
Mhm.
And so that's why I was the first person to actually show him, teach him how to master his inner game. And no one else had ever done that before. So that's what enabled him to get that hockey stick growth. Another example is I had one client named Tamisa. She's a business owner in Arizona. Great personality, really fun, very vivacious. And she was a self-described seminar junkie, right? She was going to all these seminars and everything and doing well. She's doing six figures in her business, but again, kept hitting that income ceiling. Well, she decided to join my 12-week breakthrough program. You mentioned that earlier. And I have, what I'm known for is helping people make more in just 12 weeks than they did in the previous 12 months while actually winning their lives back at the same time. So it's not about the hustle and the grind. It's the exact opposite. So anyway, so Tamisa decided to join my 12-week breakthrough program. Well, she tripled her investment in the first 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, she tripled her investment. We hadn't even gotten to the money part yet, right? So we were only talking about her inner game and outer game, but it was mostly up here, her inner game, and boom, hockey stick growth there too. So this is how powerful your inner game and your outer game are. You have to do both in order if you want that hockey stick growth.
I love all of this. I mean, this is so fascinating to me. So, what's the first step in getting, unstuck? To master that inner game?
Okay, absolutely. So going back to what I was saying earlier, the first step you want to do is you do want to write down your goals, right? So I talked about that earlier, that we are
Okay.
goal-oriented organisms.
Yeah, yeah,
So
sure.
that is true. And so you have to acknowledge that. So, the fact that everybody talks about goals, they're not wrong. They just stop. That's like, okay, set your goals. Good luck. It's like, what? Wait, that's just step one. We need a
Right.
little more, guys. Right. So, but yeah, so that is the first step. So it is true. You've got to understand what you want. Then the second step is understand what is the head trash that's actually keeping you stuck right now. So, for example, let's go back to my example. I want to make an extra 10K in my business. All right. So let's
Mhm.
say that's your goal, right? Very
Mhm.
common goal. Or it could be I want to lose weight. I want to find love. I want a happier marriage. I mean, we've helped people with all of these goals and many, many more. All right. So it doesn't have to be just money. Money's just an easy one, right? Because you got before and after, right? I was making the
Yeah,
X, now I'm making X times 10. Okay, good.
it's very easy to see.
Exactly. So anyway, so that's you set your goal, and then number two is what is my belief about my ability to have that thing that I just said I wanted. So
Mhm.
what most people will do is they say, well, I want that, but I don't think I can do it because
Mm.
dot dot dot, right? And then you just fill in the blank. Well, I can't do it because, and it usually comes down to, oh, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I can't afford it, I don't know where to start, I'm too busy, my spouse won't let me do it. I've got kids, I'm divorced, I'm married, I'm a Martian, whatever. I mean, people will come up with all kinds of excuses, right? And so, but that is the very point. That very thing is the thing that is keeping you stuck. So notice that you are in charge of that. So my job is to empower you to say, wait a minute, you're the person that's saying you can't do it because. All right. But here's the funny thing about human beings is that you always make yourself right. You
Mm.
always make yourself right. See, Henry Ford many years ago said, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. Now, with
Yes,
all
one
due
of my
respect to
favorite
Mr. Ford,
quotes.
I have updated that statement. So what I say is, whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you make yourself right. You make yourself right. And so what I mean by that is, see, that's an important distinction because, if you say, well, Noah, I want to make more money, but I don't have the time, you'll make sure you don't have the time. See, I told
Mhm.
you, look, I'm too busy. Meanwhile, you're wasting 1 to 3 hours a day watching Netflix.
Mhm.
So you're too busy, huh? Okay.
Mhm.
Now, I'm not saying don't have fun, don't enjoy yourself. No, that's not the point. Oh, we got to be working all the time. No, I'm the opposite of that. No, but
Mhm.
I'm just inviting you to notice how much time you're actually wasting. Because let's face it, what do you, me, Bill Gates, Mark Cuban, Elon Musk, Warren Buffett all have in common? We all have the same 24 hours in a day. They don't have 36 hours in a day or 72 hours in a day. They don't. We all have the same amount of time. All right. So they're clearly doing something, right? They're not 1,000 times smarter than us. They don't work 1,000 times more than us. None of that's possible. So they
Mhm.
clearly just have, number one, of course, gotten rid of their head trash. And number two, they have systems in place that allow them to scale their business. So we can all do this. Okay. So anyway, so that's really it. I mean, so number one, understand what you want. Number two, what is your head trash? What are you telling yourself? And then number three, are you willing to be wrong? Are you willing to be wrong? Will give you another quick example, if I may. I was talking with another one of my clients. His name's Charles. He's a business owner in North Carolina. And I said, Charles, and this is a question I ask all my clients. How much do you think it's going to cost you over the next 12 months if we don't take out your head trash? In other words, how much do you think your head trash is costing you right now? And he'd been reading my books, been watching my videos on YouTube. So he understood me and my philosophy and what makes me different. And so he said, without batting an eye, he said $1 million. No, he said, if I don't get rid of this head trash, it's easily going to cost me $1 million just the next 12 months. And I said, you know what, Charles, it's very common. I told him, I hear this every day. Every day I talk to people who say, Noah, if I don't get rid of my head trash, it's going to cost me 500,000, 1 million, 2 million a year. And remember, that compounds over time. It's not just 1 year. It goes on forever until you take it out. So I said, that's very common. And then number two, I said, I'll tell you what, Charles, why don't you just give me 10% of that million and I'll find you $1 million in the next 12 months? In other words, if you give me $1 and I give you $10 back, is that a good deal? And he goes, yeah, that's a good deal. So he decided to do that. It's again, I love working with high achievers, right? Decisions quickly and friendly, didn't dilly dally. He decided to invest 100K. That's 10% of a million, right? So he uh, did that. And I coached him one on one for a year. Now, as it turns out, I didn't find him $1 million in the next 12 months. Instead, I found him 1.8 million in just 10 months. Right. So he gave me $1 and I gave him $18 back. Is that a good deal? No, that's a great deal. And he actually sent me
Amazing.
an email and he said, Noah, guess what? I'm on a 7 week vacation with my wife. He said, because of what you taught me, not only do I have more money than ever before, I also have more time. He said, this is a dream I've had for years, but I couldn't do it. I could never do it before because I didn't have the money or the time. So now I just bought a new RV. We're driving around the country. We're seeing the world, seeing the country. And he said, this is a dream I've had for years. So he literally said, thank you, Noah, for changing my life. So that's how powerful this can be.
Losing weight can be tough, and I know how frustrating it can be to feel like nothing is working. And that's why I'm so excited to offer something really special for you that's truly helping people. Hers. Right now, everyone's talking about weight loss medications like GLP-1s, but you don't need to be a celebrity to access them. Through Hers, you can get affordable, doctor-developed weight loss programs designed just for you, whether it's GLP-1 injections like the ones in Ozempic or Wegovy, or oral medication kits. Hers gives you the options to tailor everything right to your needs. What I love about Hers is that they make loss realistic and affordable, starting at just $199 a month with no hidden fees. Plus, you get the support of a medical provider to adjust your plan, answer questions along the way, all online and delivered right to your door. If you're ready for a weight loss solution that actually works, start your free online visit today at forhers.com/negotiate. That's FORHERS.com/negotiate for your personalized weight loss treatment options. Hers weight loss is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Restrictions apply. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm thinking about how so many people are stuck in victim mentality and they
Yeah,
don't even realize it. I mean, I
that's right.
have my version of your story where I was dealing with a narcissistic business partner a couple of years ago, and I was on a mountain in Haleakala in Maui, and I'm up there. My 17-year-old daughter leans over and she's like, "Mom, it's so beautiful. It's like heaven on earth." And I was like, yeah, it is. And all I could think about was this person.
Mhm.
And in that moment, I was like, wait a minute. Every moment I give her, I'm not being in my power.
Right.
I'm not the victor. I'm a victim. And I thought to myself, you don't get to be here on vacation with me. Like, this is no. And so,
Nice.
and in that moment, I went down the mountain and said, I'm out of this. I'm changing my life.
Mm.
And that was in July of 19. And then I wrote my second book, Negotiate Like You Matter. Robert Shapiro wrote the foreword. And then January of 20, I did my first real videos on YouTube. And this is how it all sort of started because of that moment.
Mm.
So can you talk about the power of making a decision and being aware of when you're in victim mentality?
Well, you said it. I think most people really are in victim mentality, and of course, they don't know it. And that is a big, big part of making yourself right that I was talking about earlier.
Hmm.
Well, Noah, I want to make more money. I want to lose the weight. I want to find love. I want to be in a happy marriage, but I can't do it because blank,
Hmm.
blank, blank, right? And
Hmm.
when whatever you just said, you're a victim. Whatever
Hmm.
you just said, you're a victim.
Hmm.
Okay. So if you're saying, I don't know how to do it, now that's different. Okay. Well, no, I want to make more money. I want to lose the weight. I want to find love, but I don't know where to start. Okay. Now that's different. Now that's an opening. You see how we just opened the door there?
Hmm.
And so the point is get help, contact me, go to breakthroughwithnoah.com and we'll talk. All right. Or, contact Rebecca, there's help out there. There's help available now that I, of course, never had when I was a kid. When I was growing up, there was no help. At least I didn't know where to
No,
get it. And so the point
no.
is now, if you want help, it's there, but of course, right now, the problem is that because so many people have been burned by the gurus, right? And I mean, I know that feeling. I spent over $750,000 going to all these gurus out there, paying them tons of money, only to find out they can't teach their way out of a paper bag. I mean, they truly suck at teaching. They're great at self promotion, great at self marketing, but they suck at teaching. And so a
Hmm.
lot of people have been burned by these guys, me included. So I know what that's like. So we are now, right now, at what I like to call a trust recession. Trust is at the lowest point ever because so many of us have been lied to by those guys. So it's really, really hard right now. So
Hmm.
that's why, doing videos like you're doing, Rebecca, I mean, on my YouTube channel, you'll see hundreds of videos and testimonials and case studies. And that's what's so important, as a business owner. Now if you don't own a business, you still have to find that victor within yourself. Using my Afformations method certainly is a great place to start, because it will literally allow you to flip the victim to the victor. And you can do it in less than 5 minutes a day. You can literally do it, while you're on the treadmill or while you're doing
In the
yoga.
shower.
We have Iaform audios you can listen to. You can just plug in your earbuds and just listen to them. All that's available on noahstjohn.com. But anyway, it's my job is to empower you. But really what it is to remind you that you already have the power within you. Sometimes we just forget.
Okay, so you have a whole new book on
Mhm.
how to become a seven-figure expert, which I'm so excited about because most people are like, I can't even get to six figures. How about seven? So, and I've built two seven-figure companies, but I want to do eight. I want to do the next breakthrough for
Right.
me, right? So, but
Uh-huh.
you tell us how you do this, like what, tell us about the book.
Absolutely. So yes, it is entitled The Seven Figure Expert. There it is. The subtitle is Your Ultimate Guide to a Life of More Impact, Influence, and Financial Freedom. Isn't that what we all want, right? We all want more impact, more influence, and of course, financial freedom. So right now, because you're watching this, you can actually go to sevenfigureexpertbook.com, and the book is free. So I've covered the cost of the book. We just ask you to cover the shipping. So it's easy to remember. Just go to sevenfigureexpertbook.com, and the book is free. Just cover the shipping. So in the book, I cover my five-phase seven-figure expert formula. All right, so I'm big on formulas and frameworks and systems, as you can see. Again, Sheldon
Blueprints,
Cooper here.
yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, really, I give you both the inner game and the outer game of becoming a seven-figure expert. And of course, if you want to scale up to that eight figures, I've helped a lot of people do that as well. But as you said a moment ago, Rebecca, I mean, most people have a lot of head trash about even just getting to six figures, let alone seven. So that's a big, big part of what I do with my clients is helping them to, of course, take out that head trash, whether they want to get to six or seven or even eight figures, which I've helped a lot of people do. So really, it comes down to making sure that you follow the formula, follow the system. This is really in the book. What I give you is my hard won, hard fought, battle tested, proven system that I had to spend over $750,000 just to get from people who really can't teach their way out of a paper bag. That's why it took me a lot longer than I would have liked, to be able to reach my goals. But now that I've been able to do that, it's really nice to be able to help people, and it's really really great to see all the stories of people whose lives have been changed by this work. So it's really a lot of fun and very rewarding.
It is. Oh my goodness, so good. So everybody go get the free book for sure. And I can tell you a quick thing. I mean, when I went from practicing law into doing this work, I had to stop in between doing some other entrepreneurial things. And I went back to my business coach and I said to her, I feel like the only way that I can make money is through practicing law. And she said to me, it wasn't the law firm that made the money, it was you. And that was such an aha moment for me,
Mm.
right? I mean, so it's all here. It's
Hmm.
all right here.
That's great
And
advice.
yeah, and I could tell you that when I interviewed Bob Proctor, which I was
Mhm.
so grateful that I got to interview him before he passed, I had said, oh, 80% of winning a negotiation is won before you walk into a room.
Mm.
And he corrected me on my own podcast and said, no, it's 100%. And so ever since then, because the great Bob Proctor told me it was 100%, I'm
Mm.
like, you know what? It is.
Mm. Yep.
It is.
Yep.
It is.
Yep.
So go get his free book. And is there a place people can follow you, subscribe to you, see you?
Absolutely.
What,
Yes.
what
So
can we do more?
absolutely. So if you want to actually talk to me or one of my coaches, just go to breakthroughwithnoah.com. Very easy to remember because I'm known as the breakthrough coach. So breakthroughwithnoah.com, and you can watch a short video there and then just book a 15-minute breakthrough evaluation. We're going to evaluate your business and you're going to walk away with a three-step plan so you can really scale up, over the next 12 weeks and next 12 months and beyond. So that's all at breakthroughwithnoah.com. And then my main page is my YouTube channel, which is watchnoahtv.com. Also easy to remember, watchnoahtv.com. That's my YouTube channel. And yeah, we got lots of, free training on there, of course. And I've got 24 other books you can choose from, but that's a great place to
Yes.
start. But yeah, that's where you can find me. Just Google Noah St. John, you'll probably find me.
So good. So we'll definitely tag your channel when We upload the video here. And is there an Instagram or anything like that too?
Oh yeah,
Or
I'll just Google Noah St. John. I'm on all the socials. But yeah,
we'll make
you
sure that everything gets put in the descriptions. We'll put
yep.
links to the books that we talked about here today. And this is such a pleasure. Wow. I mean, I feel so energized just talking to you like
Oh,
today.
well, let's do it again sometime. You know, when you're more settled, then we can even talk further. But I'm happy to do it, and this is a lot
Love
of fun.
to. We'll do an in-person one next time you come to LA.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Noah St. John. And everybody go check out his stuff. And this is time to take out the trash, right? This is it. Today's the day that you make a difference in your life. Just decide. All right. So thank you all for joining me, and we'll see you next time.